Hello, everyone. This month, Those Who Inspire Us will be presented by Madhubala Ayyamperumal, and she will be speaking on David Adjaye. Madhu, please.
Thank you, Jennifer. As Jennifer mentioned, today's presentation is about Sir David Adjaye, one of the most well-known British architect who is known to infuse his artistic abilities and ethos for community-driven projects. His ingenious use of materials, bespoke designs, and visionary sensibilities have set him apart as one of the leading architects of this generation. Looking at his early life, he was born in Tanzania and graduated from London South Bank University in the year 1990. He founded the current firm Adjaye Associates in the year 2000, which has current branches in Accra, London, and New York. He bagged his first US project in the year 2007, which is the Museum of Contemporary Art at Denver. He's been listed as one of the 100 most influential people of the year by Time magazine. He has also won several awards, including the RIPA Royal Gold Medal. One of his early projects is a photographic survey of metropolitan architecture. So this project actually took place over a 10-year period, documenting 54 major African cities and showcasing a concise urban history, fact file, maps, and satellite imagery that come together in a rigorous analysis and reconceptualization of what African architecture is and can truly be. He's been mentored by some of the famous architects like David Chipperfield, and his works are said to be inspired from architects like Toyo Ito, Tadao Ando, and Yoshio Taniguchi. Currently, his firm's works ranges from houses, furniture collections, product design, exhibitions, and temporary pavilions to bigger scale buildings like art centers, civic buildings, and master plans. According to Adjaye, he believes that if you understand that architecture is a social art form, it requires the input of the citizen to allow great architecture to happen. It comes out of being engaged culturally and listening. His design approach is majorly dependent on these four factors: notions of placemaking, identity, memory, and meaning. I'm going to talk about some of the projects of various scales that was done by Sir David Adjaye, and to understand his design approach and how community driven those projects are. So the first and most famous project of this is the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which is in Washington, D.C. So this building was built by Adjaye Associates, and they won the competition to design this museum to consolidate the firm's US portfolio with the most prestigious new building. The design approach was to establish both a meaningful relationship to the unique site and a strong conceptual resonance with America's deep and long-standing African heritage. The design rests on three cornerstones: the corona shape and form of the building, the extension of the building out into the landscape, the porch, and the bronze filigree envelope. Situated on the Washington Monument grounds, the museum maintains a subtle profile in the landscape. The corona is based on elements of the Washington Monument, closely matching the 17-degree angle of the capstone and the panel size, and the pattern has been developed using the monument stones as a reference. The entire building is wrapped in an ornamental bronze-coated aluminum lattice that is a historical reference to the benign shrines of West Africa and African American craftsmanship. The density of the pattern can be modulated to control the amount of sunlight and transparency into the interior. The south entry is composed of the porch and a central water feature. An extension of the building into the landscape, the porch creates an outdoor room that bridges the gap between interior and exterior. Inside, visitors are guided on a historical and emotional journey characterized by vast column-free spaces, a dramatic infusion of natural light, and a diverse material palette comprising precast concrete, timber, and a glazed skin that sits within the bronze-coated aluminum lattice. Below ground, the triple height story, history gallery, and memorial space, which is also known as the oculus, that brings light diffused by a cascade of water, which creates a very contemplative and monumental ambience. The next project that we're going to look at is Ruby Cities, which is located in Texas, USA. According to the client, she had a very clear vision for how the institution should be an inspirational space for the community and interact with its surroundings. And also, its major task is to draw visitors into the jewel like structure while connecting it to the San Antonio landscape. The building creates a narrative journey through the space that allows the collection to be accessed in an organic and meaningful way. It's not just an art center that is 10,000 square feet of exhibition space in San Antonio. It also provides a space for the city's thriving creative community to experience works by both local and internationally acclaimed artists. The experience of the building is conceived as an ambulatory loop. From the ground, the visitor moves up and through the independent gallery rooms and back down, returning to the lobby and plaza. The exterior form consists of a heavier top with sloping soffits that emphasize its upward lift, which is covered by two crowning lanterns that create an animated roof line. The exterior skin consists of a precast concrete fabricated in Mexico City and imbued with a rich red. For the first 10 feet up, the concrete is polished finish to be touched smoothly by passerby. The concrete wall is rough, sharp, and encrusted with two hues of red glass. The total effect on the building makes it appear as if this angular, rough, and sparkling rock has been sheared at the level of human interaction. The contrast of the building is very smooth, and rough becomes a signature decision to Ruby City. These are some of the interior shots of the building where you can see the contrast between the interior and exterior and how it plays out in terms of spatiality. Next project is Bernie Grant Art Center in London. So the challenge for this new center is to establish a strong connection with the Tottenham Green from position some way behind the protected facades. So the design is to provide a first-class arts theater in North London that reaches out to young people and ultimately embraces all generations of the community. It's a series of pavilions which complement existing Grade 2 listed buildings on the site. Adjaye's design solution retains the integrity of the historical site, stitching together to the disparate parts. A Victorian town hall, a bathhouse, a depot, square, and railway buildings that collectively create a cultural village. The choice of materials reflect a distinction between the auditorium and existing site, with the purple hard and heat treated timber being used for the interior and foyer of the auditorium building, and the materiality of the other buildings working to support the form and color of the auditorium. One of the most interesting projects and very unique projects of Adjaye is the Webster at Los Angeles, majorly because it's a retail building and it has a very unique materiality. The major challenge in this project is to work with a lot of saturated red and pink hues, which extends back to the early color experiments that was done at the beginning of his career. Pink felt like fashion, but I wanted to make something that was tough and gentle at the same time. So the fusion of these two major qualities is the result, which is the Webster Retail Center. Webster's latest flagship store is 11,000 square feet ground up retail development. It's also adjacent to the historic Los Angeles Beverly Center. Juxtaposed beneath the monolithic 8-story structure, the Webster elegantly asserts itself as a sculptural and experiential counterpart to the Beverly Center's retail experience. It's a cantilevered concrete facade and it reimagines the brutalist shell of the original existing building and it's injected with a pink dye. It's an ode to the luminosity of California, where the Pacific light naturally amplifies saturated colors. Transcending the now dated transactional and commercial experience of most brick and mortar retail, Webster offers a destination and experience not only for its clients but also for the city. Featuring a digital art wall and a sculptural water fountain, the new public space cultivates an unexpected urban oasis. Visible only from the underside of the cantilever, the digital art wall spans its surface to form a columnless portico with banquet seating. It has also involved a lot of merchandising design, such as bronze framed mirrors and display racks. These interior finishes balances an appreciation for the sculptural beauty of the store's form without detracting from the curated products on display. The upper walls of the fitting rooms are softened with vintage 1950s wallpaper sourced from the client's personal collection. This is an example of architecture where the retail experience is infused with the brick and mortar and is integrated as one whole story of the space. The next one is not a very famous project, but it's one of the very important community-centric projects of David Adjaye. It's a switching station in New Jersey at McCarter. So the project establishes a new multi-use community space, including a canopied passageway encompassing a market, temporary and permanent art installation, and informal gathering space. So the major reason for me to include this project, this is a very um, simple project, but it talks about how a project can change the community using a lot of art forms by also making it functional. The reconceptualization of the facade of the switching station is a necessary and performative piece of urban infrastructure. It's conceived as an inside-out gallery. The 30-foot tall walls feature original works from the local and international artists. The project establishes a new multi-use community spaces, including a canopied passageway, a market, temporary and permanent art collections, and informal gathering space. It's a 4-acre substation. The green spaces surround the base of the wall and landscape promenade adjacent to the market mediate between community space and the new development. The niches are embedded into the vertical screen of curved perforated aluminum and corrugated concrete held at constant elevation. The wall registers with the natural variations of the site, creating a sense of rise and fall and allowing travelers to find themselves eye level with the work of specialized viewing points in the perimeter. Commuters can access the agora formed by the canopy tops through porous pedestrian passageway. The market is framed by 34 feet columns that taper upwards into canopy tops and support a dramatic overhead art installation. Asase is the next project, which is nothing but an installation in Manhattan, New York. It's the idea of construction that works across many modes of sensory perceptions. It's designed to create moments where the audience is just in between earth. This is something people have forgotten how to do. It's the first large-scale autonomous sculpture which was born from its ongoing reflections on the origin of Black architecture and its relationship to the earth. Referencing a lot of historical works of Western African architecture, such as Tibele Royal Complex in Burkina Faso and the walled city of Agadez in Niger, the sculpture takes the form of a maze of nested earthen walls that climb to a conical vertex. This work aims to speak about the temporal specificity of place through the lens of both the present condition and backward into memory, exploring Black spaces on the continent in relation to social gathering for families and communities. This infrastructure, it mediates on the notions of fragments of chambers, and of buildings constructed from the earth that were the backdrop of the life of Black people. So I hope that you've liked some of the works that I talked about from David Adjaye, and what mattered to me or what I learned from the quality of architecture that was done by his firm. Uh, these are some of the things that are very, very inspiring. Um, First of all of the projects are very community centric, and the design has a very democratic approach to architecture. And design has been used as a social tool for aggregation and stimulation of the emergence of new communities. And it's very sensitive to the cultural context of different people. Architecture is a powerful tool for social, material, and conceptual transformation, and this has been very clearly seen in some of the examples that we talked about today. Ultimately, for Adjaye, architecture is a social act. It's about constructing buildings that acknowledge and understand their history, at the same time creating something entirely new in order to serve communities into their futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhubala. That was such a great presentation. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.